Hello, after school teachers. I'm Amanda Reichert, and I'm bringing you some virtual PD to get to know your after school clubs for your school. This virtual PD will be accompanied by some questions along the way to keep track of what you're learning, as well as discussion boards to catch up with other teachers who are learning the same things as you and teaching some of the same classes. This PD will have everything that you need in order to successfully begin and run your after school club. And if you have any questions at the end, you can always let me know. My email is my name, areichert@DASD, or you can catch me on Schoology or Twitter. Alright, so this is the online virtual PD for Hummingbird experts. These are teachers who have taught robotics after school before for grades 3 to 5. You're looking for some tips and tricks and new things to do with your students, as well as looking to receive credits for your PD so you can get paid. So on our Bird Brain course, or Schoology course, I want to make sure everyone, no matter whether they're a novice or an expert, they've done this many times or they've only done it once or never done this before, know where to get some really good information. Everything on here is fairly much the same it was before. It's just I'm trying to reorganize things so that they make a little bit more sense. For example, pretty much everything you need for Hummingbird would be in this Hummingbird Galore Level 1 folder. But what I've done is move some things around. So for my old people, you'll find that a lot of things are gone you don't need anymore, or they were moved down into here. And a lot of my newer people, you'll find the things that you need to be right there. Alright, so in our Schoology course, I'm going to travel down to our Hummingbird Galore Level 1 folder. And in here are so many resources. However, I've done a little bit of updating. I moved all of our old resources that do not pertain to really what we're using right now into an old folder. So if those are things you're still using and you just have not changed your Hummingbirds to Bluetooth and you're still using Snap on the laptops, that's fine. Everything's there. It's just in its own folder. Now all of the resources that you see here more pertain to what we're doing with our students, and many of them are the same, but a couple of them have changed. So one thing is I have updated the Level 1 pacing guide, which a lot of my experts do not need, but I'm going to show everyone regardless. The pacing guide, as you can see in here, has all of the information about what you need, and I've tried my best to hyperlink a couple of the things in there, so it's almost like you can follow along as well as just have what you need at the click of a mouse. Instead of going and searching for it in Schoology, you would be able to just click on it right there and it would be there ready to go. So I have all of that information on there ready for either my experts or my novices. Another thing for everyone that is new is a brand new coding card. So in here I have a card that I created recently. There you guys can see it, and I'm going to show you a hard copy as well. It's got one side with the basics of coding and the other side with an image of the app on it. So let's look at what this looks like in person and talk about how I created this. Here is that coding card in person. So what I did was I printed it in color, double-sided, and cut it in half. Alright, so on the one side is the coding information, and on the other side is just the blank saying this is a coding card for this app. And of course I've updated this to be blue, as the app is blue, not orange anymore. So keep that in mind. Mine are slightly behind, but the ones that you print out would be ready to go. So what's great about this is this information basically that you had in the Makeathon guide before, but now I've made a brand new design notebook, which I will show you, as well as this new coding card, and it has little reminders along the way. I wrote it right at the top. Coding is all about patterns. The idea is if your kids can do these 3 things, if they can make lights, if they can make motors work, and if they can make a sensor sense, then they could really do anything, because that's what coding is. It's following these patterns. So for my new people, this is the basis of what you need, and for my old people, you already know this is what you need. It's just this is a brand new resource to help you get there. Now, as far as in print and everything, I printed these through Bob Laffey through our new print system in color on cardstock and had him laminate them for me. So it was really nice. I really didn't have to do any of the work. And again, this isn't even something that you might need the first week of class. You might want to use this the second or the third or whatever weeks. But I literally just keep this inside of a basket with the other materials the kids are using so that they have everything they need all the time. So many of you have seen this and some of you have not seen this before, but I want to direct everyone's attention to the new Hummingbird Design Notebook. I'm going to check this out with you. I created it over the summertime, based it off of the old one, but kind of got rid of things we didn't need and added new things that we needed. So if I open this up, so it's nice and big, there we go, we can see it a little bit better. You can see a lot of the things are the same, but some are easier. For example, I have information for the kids' name and their group members' names, dates if that is something that you need. There's links as well as QR codes to resources that kids could use. Super handy down there. There's the design process, nice and big and bold. You could go through that with students. And then the pages walk through that process. Now what's really nice is, and this you'd be careful when you print this, there's multiple pages that are for different types of programs. So the first page is for Snap, which you can see here, and I wrote down in the comments. This would be for if you're using Hummingbird with the laptop still and you have not switched to Bluetooth, this would be a great page to print. It's just like the new coding card, but on a page in their packet ready for them. I have other pages that are incomplete, one for Scratch and one for Make Code, which are all compatible with the Hummingbirds, but I have not completed them because I haven't had a reason to complete them yet. But the one that you want, and the one you'll need to print, is this one. It's the one for bird blocks, and this is of course our new iPad-based program to help the kids get coding. And of course then it goes through. There's a page for understanding what you're doing and creating a design and planning that out, and of course testing and evaluating those sources. So if you are using that old Make-a-thon program guide, I believe it was called, or design notebook or something like that, you can switch over to this new one. That would be a really great thing to do. Back in our Schoology course, back in our Hummingbird folder, is also an Intro to Hummingbird Google slide. And this is just like a great place to have all the things you need. For my newer people, I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through all of the slides with you. My older people, I'm going to direct you to some specific slides that I think that you probably haven't utilized, but you could, and it would be very effective. First of all, there's slide 4 in here is goals. A lot of time to keep kids on track, I'll write down what they're doing on the board so they can see. And sometimes that just helps them, get things done. Instead of goofing around or not doing too much. Of course, the Ready Set Design slide is here. If you have not done that with your kids before, I really highly recommend it. It's just a simple, short activity that is very effective, and it's fun, and the kids love it. It requires a little bit of prep of gathering materials, but that's pretty much it. Now, this is something I'm sure a lot of people have not really done much with, but I recommend doing it. So it's slide 8 on that Intro to Robotics Google slide. Here we talk about building with cardboard. Now, we have all been there where kids make a product and it is basically a lot of cardboard with the most duct tape and hot glue you've ever seen in your entire life. And it doesn't even work. It's just like a pile of sticky stuff. So this is one thing I've done to help ease that transition of understanding how to make things that actually work. It looks really simple because it is, but what's nice is when you make this cardboard attachments poster, which I'll make with the kids, I'll give them a big piece of paper and I'll give them a bunch of stuff and have them glue it to the page and make it look really good. Once they build these pieces, they go on to use them in their robotics, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, that's how this works. Or, oh, that's what I would use this for. And they start connecting those dots. Another fun thing to do is, as you can see down here, I have a design challenge. Do a ready, set, design with this as a requirement. So they build these, they know how to use them, and then give them a new ready, set, design challenge, but tell them you have to incorporate 1 attachment or 2 attachments in your design. So that gets them actually using it and working with it. Now for my teacher friends, since you've done this many times, we've looked at the pacing guide and the new card, but for some other things I think that you should see, I would love to show you this link, this build with Bird Brain Technology. So I'm going to go ahead and open this link, and I'm going to push it out of Schoology because it'll be easier to view and use. So one thing I've done in the new pacing guide is I've kind of integrated this into the pacing guide as something that you would do with your kids. But there's a lot of opportunities to build things with them and do lesson plans with them that might be great as an introduction. And again, help them to get this whole idea of building and making something work to happen. I know that's one of the greatest challenges we have is we say, here's robots and here's stuff and go build things, and sometimes they come up with an amazing product, and sometimes they just have a bunch of duct tape cardboard and you're looking at it like, oh man, these kids did not get the point. So this kind of will bridge that gap. I would highly recommend maybe spending a week building mechs with them. Mechanisms are simple machines. These are things that like engineers use all the time, non-stop. So I would maybe spend a day talking about building with cardboard and just building a mech, saying pick one and go build it. And on here, it's really cool. Even if you click one, like I'll click on winch, for example. A winch is a machine that pulls something up or down. There are step-by-step directions with written words on the side, but these videos are really simple. There's no words, there's no text. You just watch it and you do it. And it guides you through everything, like having the materials you need and then actually creating and building something. Kids are really good at watching videos and making things happen. I mean, YouTube has done wonders for kids' making abilities, so this is just like an example of that. And what's nice is it's not on YouTube, so it's much more easily accessible for us in elementary school. You know, if I go back to the Build tab again, there's another thing in here that I think would be really cool to do with your kids too that might spice things up. They have these like little simple robot lessons that are really easy, but it helps them get this idea that like you're using these wires and lights and motors to make something work or happen. It's like taking the stuff that's in your mind and your imagination and bringing it to life. So one that I want to show you especially is this bee waggle. So the bee waggle dance is a really cute lesson that Kelsey from the company came up with. And it has some volume we're going to turn off. There we go. As you can see, the bee goes one side and he wiggles and the other side and he wiggles. There's actually science behind this, like bees really do these things. So there's a nice little video about how to make this with your kids. But another thing is I've turned this into a real lesson plan. So if I go back to our Schoology course and our Hummingbird, back in our Bird Brain homepage, and I go to I Design Lessons. Here I have a bee waggle lesson plan. So there's a lesson plan ready to go and there's a Google slide ready to go. And if you look at the Google slide, you can kind of see like the step-by-step I've given you to do this with kids. And it's really cool. It's got a nice science connection. It's all about how bees communicate, and then they use that information to do the challenge of making the bee waggle. So this might be, again, another fun thing to do in like the beginning to mix things up and help these kids connect those dots between building and making something purposeful.